working, yeah.
All right, evening, we're starting.
I get a question in before we start?
Whoa.
It's a record. It's like to right now. So being that there's no Avelos on Shabbos, right? Right? Okay. So since there's no Avelos on Shabbos,
No,
okay. Which means also after Chatzos on Friday. So can the meal, because the things apply, like no tafel and things like that.
Avelis does apply. A person's over last to sin.
Another question is there any room to say that you can take a haircut during skirt after Chatzos on Friday to cover Shabbos?
Yeah, but that says in the Shulchan Aruch being such opinion.
Sorry?
There is such an opinion in Shulchan Aruch. But that you have to know many Chabad. I have no idea. In Shulchan Aruch wrote down such an opinion.
You have a section in the Alter program?
No, they never do. Our minute is not to take care of it.
What about listening to music?
The same question as going to that Yalato, but I can't answer. This is minig. This is not halacha. You have to find out your minig. You know, this is a minig question. The Welt is mekel. They do take a haircut. Let's say the Sfardim. They don't even take a haircut Lamed Gimel. They only take a Lamed Dalet. You know, the Sfardim have a different minig. They don't. The Shulchan Aruch brings an opinion, one opinion. Don't say most say don't know. That means to say that many people do take a haircut, do take a hair Friday.
Rabbi, you mentioned at a different point that you have to go by the right. I think it was like the stockings or the shakel issue. You said, the people God who says that you can't rely on it. You have to go in the system.
Yeah, but that's halacha, not a minig. Minig has nothing to do with the right. Minig is a minig. There was a minig. It's a minig. The whole thing is a minig. Okay, well, I think we're up to C test, right? I didn't finish test. The last, it was we got sidetracked. I'm going to just finish test again. Rabbi says, "Hanovin shalahem, grapes. A lot of grapes from the going from lachas, harbor. They're very wet. Achem etamfis, the dripping beturim. You don't have to worry that they before they sell the grapes, they poured wine over it. There were times they used to do it. Normally, most people didn't do it, so you're allowed to buy grapes from a goy. This is like I started mentioning last week. This is the Shulchan Aruch Hilchos Kashrus. The Gemara says, even though there are once in a while people who go and do it, you don't have to worry about it. Generally speaking, they don't do it, so you're allowed to buy grapes, even though it looks wet, even though it's suspiciously maybe he did. No, doesn't mean he did put the pour wine over it. All pickled that they shein dark in lusabehem yain. They're not the derech to put in wine. The chometz. That means it's not the norm to put in wine and vinegar. Since it's not the norm to put in wine and vinegar, so that's why you don't have to worry about it. Maybe you don't have to worry that maybe put wine and vinegar into this. You know, I'm debating to say a story, but I should say it anyways. I hope I'm accurate with this story because this is a Chabad story. About 15 years ago, maybe even more, when was Rabbi Levi Nifta? Do you know when he was Nifta? 20 years ago? No, I don't think 20 years. Yeah, so what happened was, let me tell you an interesting story what happened. What they blamed, his son blamed what happened. What happened was, I think I mentioned the story, one of the other kashrus organization called up this company and he wanted to know what the vinegar is made from. Wanted to know if it's kosher to Pesach or not. Vinegar could be made from grain, could be from many things. He says, Rabbi, this year there's no problem. Absolutely no problem with vinegar. It's wine vinegar. What? Wine vinegar? Wine vinegar is extremely expensive. How could it be wine vinegar? So he says to him, what happened was, I remember the story so clearly, what happened was he says that the American government didn't allow to import Italian wine. The Italians put into the wine wood alcohol. An American standard that's dangerous. They put in a little bit. And they thought, the Italians, don't worry, it's going to go through. In America, there was a block and about 100 million gallons, who knows, enormous amount of wine they didn't let in. I remember this was a big, big patch and pudding for the Italians. They thought they were going to get away with it. You know, some people think, just do it, don't worry, it's going to pass, you know, one of those stories. The kids, so what did the Italian wine do? As America would say, cut your losses. They took all the wine and turned it to vinegar, and they allowed the vinegar to be sold with this wood alcohol in it. And they flooded the market. So it was cheaper, the wine vinegar, than the grain vinegar. So what happened was, the OK gave us gucham this type of vinegar. And it was a big tumult, and remember that that's what the Chassidish found out, that their hashgocha is depending on the OK and the OU. Because in square, I know I'm going to be, people are going to call me, email me. My email I changed. I got emails already, what I said over here. I changed my email. So square, in square, the whole hashgocha came, you know, from the OK. They relied on OK. It turned out that they were drinking mayonnaise was from wine, because the mayonnaise they put in vinegar. It turned out it was wine vinegar. So, you know, v'toyim kolair, you know, in Rus it says v'toyim kolair. The whole city was, how you say in English?
On fire.
On tumult. But the truth is, in Shulchan Aruch, nothing was done wrong. No one ever had to suspect this. That's what the Machab is talking about this. Talking about, you don't have to worry, something is pickled, they put in wine. Why in the world would anyone put wine, sell wine vinegar cheaper than grain vinegar? And they didn't realize what happened till they figured out what really happened. You know, it happens. You know, things happen.
It wasn't a problem?
Was what?
It's not a problem?
Well, we fixed it. You know, there was a letter sent out. I remember you can't use the square mayonnaise and the square pickles and a few other Heimish companies. And the OK had to send out a letter. I mean, nobody had to tell people not to use it. You know, I mean, yes.
Okay, so what happens if the norm of manufacture changes such that, let's say that happens all the time, that became the norm?
Yeah, but that's true. That's why when you learn now the next few sifrim, you see they really don't need hashgacha. Like we don't, unless something changes. The reason why we do like to have hashgacha now, everything, things change so quickly in the food industry that, you know, from one few months to another, if you're not on top of the situation, they could just add a green and catch us by surprise. It's not the first time we were caught off guard. I said last week, 2 weeks ago, I said they used to put, one time they decided, the tuna fish company, they're going to put in powder milk into the tuna fish.
Right.
The whole world was caught off guard. And, you know, it was just a very short time, because not so much as kashrus, because people are allergic to milk. You know, the people are highly allergic to milk, so that's why people realize it.
You did the same thing like back in the day. It was very common for people to mix cow milk with, say, pig's milk.
No, well,
That's why I was
that's a good question. I will explain it soon, but it's not the same. This is what we're going to see. What he just asked in the next few sifrim. There's the chol of Akum is a totally different type of exeder. This halachas here, the Sanhedrin said we're going to rely on check out once in a while how people make it, and if they make it, like I said, you're allowed to drink Pepsi, you're allowed to drink Coke, you're allowed to drink all. I know these teenagers are busy drinking Red Bull. I don't know what this is, Red Bull, and they always ask me, Rabbi, is it kosher, not kosher? What do you say?
Sugar and caffeine.
Yeah.
says it's okay.
Yeah.
What's the general rule here?
General rule, once you check something out, and there's no reason you have worry to put wine into it, it's okay. That's the Shulchan Aruch.
And that's what all the hashgachas do.
All the hashgachas do, they keep on checking every once in a while, just to make sure. Because things do drastically change in America. Many things change.
But because they change it, the Halacha that's going to change, you can't rely on the old rule that says if you check once, it's fine.
That's not so simple. In Halacha, really, if you want to give, really, we have a right to assume that things don't change. Because, you know, each item doesn't change. In many items, once in a while things change. If I take each item itself, probably didn't change for the tuna fish has not changed for who knows how long. It probably won't change. And Pepsi is not going to put in wine into the Pepsi anymore. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to worry that Coke is going to put in wine into it. You know, it's very hard to make a rule, but that's why they check it, because from a lot of food, things do change, and sometimes non-kosher things wind up in these things. Okay. See, these things, answering your question, we're going to see that these things, Cholav Stam has a whole different type of exera. Hopefully we'll get to it the next sermon. This is talking about generally food that we're talking now. Then Mechab says, Chen Tris, it's a type of a fish, She'einu Trufa, which is not chopped up. You can buy it. We'll later see there's other type of fish that you cannot. This is a type of fish that you can, because it's not really chopped. You could see that it's a kosher fish. Now this is where the huge machlokes came. As I started to explain yesterday, some hold that fish, you have to be able to recognize each fish that it's a kosher fish. And this was the big fight about the OU and the OK fish. Some held that there's got to be a mishgiach, make sure everyone is a tuna. And I explained last week why the Mekilim held that it's different, because as I said, if they're going to sell you a can of tuna, you open it's not going to be tuna, it's going to look horrific for them. Not because of kashrus. They are just going to look, for them it's not even worth it. You know, they make so sure. Anyway, so this is what it says, very interesting. They used to make a fish sauce, sheyesh kilbis, which has a certain worm crawling in it, and you know this worm is non-kosher, but the only time he creeps in the sauce fish is from a kosher fish. Very interesting thing. That means
Every filter fish with the really yellow coat in the bottom.
the fish sauce, what they made was always a kosher fish, had a certain worm in the bottom, which was not kosher. But the simmer that it was kosher, because on a non-kosher fish sauce, these worms don't climb.
Very sure if there's not one,
I don't understand. The trade worm that's in the kosher fish.
In the sauce, they would make a sauce, and the way to check it, if you saw on the bottom of the sauce this type of a thing crawling, you knew it came from kosher fish. Yes. Not the worm, the sauce. Yeah, whatever it was, I'm not sure. It was a type of a snail or worm. I don't know what it is. It was something not kosher.
If the not kosher worm is in the sauce,
Doesn't make a treif. It tastes 60 against it. It's nice time again. It's not very tasty. Just take out the worm. It's not there to add. It grows by itself.
What about the tequila with the worm?
That's something else. They put it in. I'm talking about hair grows naturally. Somehow, that's what happens. It grows naturally only on the kosher ones. We don't know what it is, and that's where you're going to line this. Yeah, it's a mashkin. Okay. Rabbi Savechein, alle shechiltis mitter. I don't know what chiltis is exactly. A very sharp, sharp spice. And the reason the leaf of a chaltis is okay, because they don't usually cut it with a knife; they rip it off. But that's the leaf of this thing. But the spice itself, we cut with a knife. That if a guy sells it to you, it's not kosher, because even if it's not any ben yoyim we spoke about last week, we cut a duber charev. It means like you cut with a fleshing a knife. The onions becomes fleshing. So you cut with a non-kosher knife. The spice becomes not kosher. But he's saying the leaves of the spice is not a problem, because usually they rip it off. Or it's not so sharp. Others learn that's why. Okay. Let's just move on over here. Usa likrich, you're not allowed to buy. Rabbi says, Usa likrich mem koirit shechiltis. This chiltis was a type of a spice from a goy. I explained this last week in the other halacha. This was buying from a private goy who cut it, so his knife. But if you buy from a manufacturer or someone cuts a lot, remember we explained, becomes bottle. Because even though he cut, so the first 20 pieces, but he was selling who knows how much. I asked a guy who buys the shopping for Chabad sometimes in the yeshiva, when they buy fish, and in John's market is a Rabbi. He says they sell at least 500 pounds of fishes they just put out there. With salmon. They always have every few months. That's called the leader. They want people to come. He told me there's at least 500 pounds of salmon there. Even if they use the knife, that's not a problem. Okay. I don't know, someone called me up, and it's not I'm saying it. It says in Elchonon, I mentioned it last week. If you go to Ralph's, you're allowed to buy cut fruit. Because again, even we're going to worry about that the goy cut it, the fruit with his personal knife by the time. So someone asked me about the corners. I went to check my neighborhood, the Mexican corner. He cuts, but he cuts an enormous amount. I watched. He cuts pineapple, and he cuts, I looked at it, but a melon, and he also cuts mangoes. I saw him, I stopped him, wanted to see what he was cutting. He was cutting mangoes. What do you say?
In your neighborhood, there's a Mexican
Yes. I mean, it sells, obviously.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, but it's true. He doesn't just cut. It's an enormous amount that he has there that he cuts. Okay. So, let's move on. So, uselekich mem koirit shechiltis with tris trifa, fish that are crushed. That's what it means over here. You can't really recognize, right? You can't recognize the fish. So this is the problem. Many hold that if you can't recognize the fish, how can you? But it's true. If you go into a supermarket, you want to buy fish, you have to recognize that scales. You can't rely because the guy says to you, because the guy behind the counter, he doesn't care. He's just a worker. He's not going to be fired. I thought it was that fish.
But again, if it's a big store, big chain store, they would care.
If it's packaged, if you stand a guy behind the counter there, he doesn't. Why does he care? I mean, but if it's packaged this way, it has a terrible name.
Back to the street corner, if they blend the drink, is that the same thing as a knife? Like if they blend maybe one or two drinks to clean, even if they wash it at home with their tray table.
They blend their things on the corner.
Sometimes
I will never. What? Well, I don't know what they blend. What do they blend in this?
The fruit to make the smoothie. In Jamba Juice, you can go.
And all I do is
Squeeze the oranges right in front of you. So you'll have fresh orange juice. They'll put that in.
fruit, but they also
only
sometimes
fruit.
put that milk
It's
stuff.
not that you wash it, they put it right in front of you. Only fruit.
Right,
But it goes into a blender where they're washing it. It's hot, and they're washing it quickly, and they rinse it.
But they also have like powders and stuff that they add.
No, you wash, but you could have.
Yeah, but they used it before for taste ingredients also.
So that's the thing. But they're rinsing it. It's cold. But you're getting. That's the question.
Do they put it in a machine that's cold, everything?
They're rinsing it afterwards. They're just rinsing the machine with hot water. And
She never
Blades
gets some.
of a blender, you can say it's like a knife, right? So it doesn't
Yeah, but
matter.
there's no charef.
But
There's no charef.
No,
Orange is not part of it?
Orange is not charef.
any fruit.
What else do they put? Pineapple.
They put any fruit, any fruit out, they have certain ingredients that are not kosher l'chayim.
They have green in it.
Yeah, there's ingredients that are not kosher.
Only not kosher, you don't have to have it.
No, I'll tell you, they have.
Okay, okay.
I have no idea.
They have different menus, right? And some of the things on their menu will have powders on there that are not kosher. Because otherwise they for sure would have a hashemah down that place. So there's other that have certain things on there that are not kosher. They rinse it, but you could go in there and you could say to them, this is what they have a machine, an unbelievable machine that just squeezes oranges. That's all it does. It's fresh orange juice. So you can say, put the orange juice as a base, that orange juice, they'll pour it right in front of you, and then put some strawberries, and they're doing it all in
Sounds
front
like
of you.
the question is being asked after someone already went.
Well, say-
Everything's fresh, it's cold, and it's just the only question is when the in between stuff, they're rinsing with hot water, and then it's done. But everything's being cold. But you're drinking.
Well, you have to really look into how they wash the dishes. That's really the problem. Because, someone told me that Starbucks lately bring in chaza sandwiches in the store.
No, they wash it right there in front of you. You can see it's a
Yeah.
big sink. They
And
just rinse it because they're doing so many turnover.
If they wash it well, very, very well the way you describe it, it's very, it's hot.
It's bottom of the shishim, no?
Yeah, if it gets washed well, there's nothing there. It's cold, everything is cold, washed well, it shouldn't be a problem. But I don't want to be ma'achrais. If you see that it's clear, that everything is washed very, very well, it's not a chap-plop job, you know what I mean? Then it shouldn't be.
But how come you can walk, isn't there a more information about going to an non-kosher?
Well, it's not a non-kosher. It is kosher. It's who said it's non-kosher.
No, they sell like.
They sell, well, wait. Shh. One second. Are you allowed to go into Ralph's? What's his name? Rafi. Are you allowed to go into Ralph's?
Yeah.
Well, Ralph sells a lot of non-kosher stuff. Enormous amount.
I heard you're not allowed to go into a non-kosher restaurant.
The restaurant, because everything is not kosher. Here he says 90% of a restaurant is not kosher. If you go into a treif restaurant, even the salad's not kosher because I spoke to about two who worked in these restaurants. They don't wash people say that the vegetables, they just, if you ask the restaurant people, it's not true that people, it says it gets dirty from the knives that they use and they're not careful. But so everything is not kosher. He's saying this juice, you go in, I order, I want this, and this, and they make it in a blender, they wash it in front of you. So what could be the problem? I don't know, I'm not giving hashgocha. I am not saying, I don't want to give hashgocha, and I don't want you guys to drink of my beer because I've never seen it, but I'm just saying, by the way you describe it, I don't see there might not be a problem. What? Well, what is Taco Bell? What sells what? What is that? The trade. So you see, no one's going to say went in for a Coke. Why should you go into Taco Bell for a Coke?
You're driving somewhere.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Most people are going to say.
This is actually an important question for me. I frequently have to go to business meetings with like my boss or clients or something. I end up in a trade restaurant, right? Nothing I can do. I have to sit there, right? And all I drink Coke from a glass. So I actually have to do that a lot. Is that okay?
Well, well, let me answer the question. That was his answer.
We discussed this issue
No.
many times.
If Maras Ayin, for the Issa Maras Ayin, person is not obligated to lose his panasa. I cannot tell you, I don't know what your business is, but if a person, person has to know his panasa, but, sometimes if you, say, let's go to a kosher restaurant, I have someone who tells me that he also is dependent on, he's a salesman, but he's in Pat's twice a week. It's in this neighborhood, Pat's, right, And they always meet in Pat's, always his clients he brings them, because it's supposed to be a nice fancy restaurant and good food. I'm saying, I can't answer your question. The din is, for Maras Ayin, you're not obligated to lose your panasa. Doubt you what your panasa, you can't change that. But there is, but if it's not for panasa, I say a cute story. I got lost in Brooklyn, in Sheep's Heads Bay. I don't know what they were fixing, and I was driving with someone, and I went over, and there was a lot of young gang. I didn't feel confident. I go to the pizza stand, and I want to ask them the guy directions, how to get. So a guy comes over to me, open shirt, here till here, and he starts talking to Hebrew, Zelo kosher. I'm going to tell you exactly where to go. I just burst out laughing. And he went to seriously, I'll tell you exactly how to get to the kosher pizza shop. And he was hanging out with the girls, and he looked like a goy gummer, I thought he was an Italian. But, so he himself thought I'm coming in. I says, I'm not coming in the pizza shop. I am lost over here.
My question was, it is for my parnasa, because the only time I would go in there is if it's a meeting and my boss says, hey, come, so I just go. And I'm talking about drinking the Coke.
Yeah, Coke you could drink, yes. You could drink probably. I imagine they clean the glass. So I would be more comfortable to give you a paper cup.
They don't have any
Yeah.
cups in the
So if you don't have to worry about Marasayan for Parnasa, do you have to go out of your way to avoid Marasayan?
Of course you have to go out of your way.
No, if the boss says, let's go to one of these two places, you have to say.
Yes, if the boss give you an option, yes, you have to.
Does that apply to say, if you're going to the trade restaurant, are you required to take off the yarmulke?
No. Why should you take a...
Go out of your way to prevent.
No.
With the yarmulke, there's less about a sign. If you go in with the yarmulke, the guy is not going to.
No, you don't have to. No, you shouldn't take a yarmulke.
I thought you might confuse other Jews that this is a kosher restaurant. They see you sitting in there.
What type of restaurant you go on? You go to one of these, real not kosher dinner, whatever it's called. Nobody's gonna think. Okay.
Oh, can I just go follow up on the fish thing? You said if it's like just sitting there on the ice and stuff, you can't trust the way it says if it's a kosher or not kosher. But you said if it's packaged. So sometimes at Trader Joe's, if you go, they'll package a fish like a mahi or a bass or something like that, and they'll write on the fish, it's packaged. They'll write mahi mahi.
See, the reason why Api Halacha, that goes in the old machlokes. According to many, the OU holds that if they package it, that it's okay. Because if it's not going to be that, they're going to. But the many hold that you shouldn't rely on this because the mistakes do happen. These small companies in Trader Joe's. If it's like Chicken of the Sea and all these big companies there, and it's small like Trader Joe's or what is it called? They say, "Oh, I'm sorry." They don't. It's not so. Then they were. That's not such a mirsis. That's why I say you could use the canned fish, you could use, and okay, but to go these small Trader Joe's, what's the other company people go, the wholesale grocery? Costco people go. I say, it's very hard. If it doesn't have an OU, okay, it's very hard to rely because...
Costco's manufacturing as well. Costco's like...
Yeah, but they're not going to, if it was mislabeled, so, that's what they shrug the shoulder.
Right.
Okay, let's move on.
I can just clarify one thing. When you said an onion is covered with knife, fleshig knife, the onion becomes fleshig.
I should go flesh.
Fleshig that you just can't eat together with milk, or the 6 hours fleshig?
No, you don't have to wait. You just can't eat together with milchiks. Right.
Did you rinse your mouth?
You don't have to rinse your mouth. No. Just coming here, driving here, a lady asked me that the mamish discretion. She cut the fleshig onion with a fleshig knife and she put it into the blender. She wants to know if the blender became fleshig. It was a power blender. So we spoke about this once, that there's a big machlokes, and most acharonim are mekel. They don't say that the Duvacharif went into onions, and now from the onions going back into the knife, and then the knife next time is, we don't go so far. So it does happen, it's okay. No. When it becomes an albanat, we don't say Duvacharif. That's we don't do like a tchila. We never do even like a tchila in albanat. Yes.
Back to the bags of fish that say like salmon on it, we're talking about. There is a rabbi that has my wife cutting off all the edges of these pre-cut fish. Is there any? Sounds like there's not really any.
Where does she buy the fish from?
She'll get like from Costco. It used to be salmon or also from Trader Joe's.
But Costco has the OU on it, the salmon.
Now they do.
Yeah.
Before they did it, it was just pre-cut salmon.
And it had scales.
The frozen one has a OU.
What we got was just, you could buy it, just cut off the edges.
One second, did it have scales? It had scales?
It was filleted.
Yeah, but there's skin on the bottom. The salmon's unique. No,
Yes,
there is skin. There is skin on
See, let me explain this thing about Costco. See, what the rabbi said to cut off the edges, that, I'm happy he didn't tell me who the rabbi is. You don't have to listen. Because they cut enough fish that shouldn't be a problem. You're worried about cutting a non-kosher knife. My problem is that I'm not convinced that Costco has this big mirrors. I asked people in the industry that the big companies like Chicken of the Sea and these big companies, they could get sued and it's in the news. Yeah? You think if they mislabel the salmon, they're going to be sued? Yeah? Yeah, if it's so, it is a mirrors. You have to just find out. If it's mislabeled, they'll feel terrible. You're right.
Yeah.
You're making a good point. Chicken of the Sea is a fish company. Costco sells $1 billion
But they're selling the name Costco with every
From
product.
a product
Costco's all about customer
perspective,
service.
the point is, if the guy in front of you makes a mistake, it's not
Not what it says.
Not what it says, because they're part of the chain of distribution, they're also liable. So Costco's gonna be just as careful as
Lawyers
you
talking, okay.
Yeah, if that's the case, then you're right. Then you're right. Then you don't have to. If your rabbi says you could buy the fish, and there's no reason to cut off the edges. And the reason why people think you have to cut off the edges is because they use the non-kosher knife, but they don't cut one salmon over there. Then when they go out and they cut hundreds and hundreds of pounds. If Costco's is huge, is a huge place.
But I think what he says is the fresh fish that's on the ice. They go there, I'm on this piece, cut it up, and then I'm in the same knife. I go to the three fish.
One second. They cut it in the store.
It's a fresh fish.
No, I was talking about, what were you talking about, bags, frozen fish?
It's a bag, frozen fish. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Usse likach mem koiret shel chiltis again, the tristrife, the chilik, the heine mini dugum ketane, mirovim. They used to have, when I was young, I used to see the fish store sell it. And I grew up and there was the Italians used to buy it in Brooklyn. We used to have these tiny fish, so the kosher fish store would also have it. It had scales on it. That's, whatever, I don't know which fish this is. The Shiurim say it was this tiny fish and mixed up. And there's not, and now these fish don't have scales, but the reason it's okay because these are fish that will have scales. And very often amongst this fish becomes non-kosher fish, and it's hard to tell. So Chazal said you're not allowed to eat this fish. It's a type of fish. I mean, it's not the gay now. People don't. You know, I'm just saying. I remember as many years ago, about 30 years, the macaroons. You know, used to be sardines. The macaroons. They made a big tumult that there was a problem. Someone realized that in between those fish also came a non-kosher fish. And you know the. Anyway, shedugim tamaim is armum and yuchala freedom, and you can't tell. Another thing it says, this is all a Gemara. This is straight from the Gemara. Kvushim shederech lepoum and shenosem behem yain. Sometimes you put wine into it. It's also, let's say you know these are pickled things that sometimes they put wine. I'm not sure. But it's a derech to add wine. Then you cannot buy these pickled things from the goyim. You want to buy pickles. And let's say pickles or whatever they pickle. Now sometimes they put wine into this pickled thing you cannot buy because maybe there's wine there. To eat al-banua to derive benefit is mitter. That means if something which the derech to put wine into it, you're allowed to sell it. Now this mahab is going that yain, stam yain is usabanua. So if I have, let's say, pickles, which the goyim sometimes puts wine, the derech to put wine, I am allowed to sell it but not eat it. Everyone puts wine into it. A serum, it's also filabano. Let's say that everyone puts wine into pickles. I don't have another good example. There is something marinated. Someone told me that they put wine into it. One of these. I forgot someone many years ago told me. But anyways, if it's something that normally put wine, that object becomes osabanua. Nowadays, we paskin ikaradin yain nesach is not osabanua. Yain stam. We paskin b'diavad. If a guy gives you a bottle of wine, you're allowed to give it further. You know, it's not a good idea to buy non-kosher wine.
Nowadays, you're saying because we don't.
The Shulchan Aruch, the time Shulchan Aruch, because the Christians stopped pouring wine for Avodah Zarah. They don't do that anymore. So many of the Rishonim hold that's not Osabano. We'll get to it to B'nai Nesach.
You basically have to give it as a gift.
If you re-give it, you don't have to throw it out, but don't buy. People ask me, in my neighborhood, we all have all nursing homes, and they have to give gifts when it comes to the holidays. Don't buy non-kosher wine, give it out. That you shouldn't do. If someone gives you,
You can't buy non-kosher wine.
you shouldn't buy non-kosher. You shouldn't do that. What?
Do you make parnasa from it?
Yeah, well, there are people who do it. There was a French guy in this neighborhood. He calls me from time to time. That's what he does. I never tell him anything. I just say.
You have a liquor store.
Like it's not like a tchila, but if a guy does a parnasa, you don't have to tell him to close down. You don't have to tell him to close down. Okay. He says, "Hamles avabanu meter." Okay. What happened? The Ramo adds a mochre killer chitz meyayin esich shaboy. Let me. This is an interesting cooler. If I have pickles that has stam yenim, it's also bano. I could sell the goy the pickles and take off a few cents. How much is the value of the wine that was added to the pickles? It's a Gemara based on the Gemara is saying the Ramo. Now I want to explain you a halacha that you guys are going to be shocked. When you learn halacha, you find all the loopholes. You know. Anyway, let me tell you. Let me start with the Santa Gemara because the Remu compares it to a Gemara. There's a Gemara in Masechtas Ksubas that says this was negay after the war. You know, after the war, how did the Kahanim marry? You know, the Ashkenazim who were unfortunate in all the concentration camps. So Kohen is not allowed to marry a lady who was in kidnapped, in captivity is the right word, captivity. Any Kahanim here? So there was a Kohen is not allowed to marry a lady who is just in captivity because maybe the goy raped her. And a Kohen cannot marry a lady who had a bias isser. That means even though she didn't want it, she was raped. A girl that was raped, a Kohen cannot marry. It's called a Zayna. So the Gemara says, so what happens, let's say, after the war? You know, there were plenty of Kahanim who married, Ashkenaz married, didn't look around to find the American girl. There were all the Jewish people were in captivity. There's no one. So there's interesting Gemara. The Gemara says like this. If there's, the Gemara talks about a city that was surrounded by siege by the Goyim. And if the army comes, we all do know what the army does. You know, the Goyish army. So the Kitzur, so the question is, if there's one place where one lady could hide and nothing would happen to her, you know what I mean? And the woman says, I am okay, so we trust her that we say, you are the one who found that place to hide. So each lady could come say, I am to her. That means when a lady, let me go back again. If a lady was in captivity, we don't take her word that she says she's to her. Well, she says it, she's not Naaman, she was in captivity. But if there's one hiding place which one lady could have hid and survived, so every lady then is Naaman to say, Tahirani. This is a clue. What do you say? Yeah, each one shows up. Maybe one Kohen cannot marry those two ladies because you can. You know, each one has that kula for himself. Yeah, but each Kohen, each the Gemara talks about it. The Gemara compares it. Yeah, to marry two of them, that's a problem. The Tosis, I think, says in Ksubis. If you want to marry two of the ladies, you have a problem. But each one has for each Kohen is allowed to marry bigger. So the Paiskim, Mamish, compare this to over here too. That means if I come to a city, I'm in LA, and they're selling me this pickle thing, and I know one company, I don't know which one it is, for sure does not add wine. So then I could go buy, even though it's the derech. It's not, if everyone puts wine and one doesn't, then it's no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about it's the derech. It's like, by the kidnap, it's not sure they raped all the women. It's the, it's the derech. What do goyim do? The soldiers do, and they do this. So we're talking about, it's just the derech. But if one for sure does not put in wine, even though others do put it on, it's not for sure, but it's the derech to put in wine, and I could buy any of the pickles and I have a right to assume it's not from the company that's put wine in. That's what the Rama is saying.
And why can't we extrapolate that to all kosher food?
You can.
I mean, like everything, even like,
Once you know one company for sure doesn't do it. We got one establishes. I don't know which one it is. If you know which one.
What do we say?
You don't even eat it.
You eat it.
But Issa de Rabbanan, only by Issa de Rabbanan, not Issa de Raisa. Something which is an Issa de Rabbanan. But Yain is an Issa de Rabbanan, not Semichan de Raisa. Only something is an Issa de Rabbanan. And because it's only the Rabbanan, it's only by Shavuot, it's Menatoiri she's Naaman. It's only by the Rabbanan she's not Naaman. So Mamela, by Issa de Rabbanan, we know, once we know for sure, one doesn't, it seemed like this was negay in the times of Shulchan Aruch. I came to, they used to sell things, and we knew one of the companies for sure is okay, and that's the problem with the, well, it's, called the pusher, we push only vadai, here it's a suffix, and the Ramon is going to say in a minute, and a vadai. This is a derech, it's not vadai, you understand? We'll get to this, what you just said, the Ramon is going to say this in a minute. No, orange juice is a problem. I don't know if orange juice is a problem. What?
Just mentioned the grape.
Well, I said it's good because they came up with this new trick, but many don't use it. You know, it's not. If you know for sure, okay, this way. If you know for sure one of the orange juice company doesn't do it, so you could buy.
We all know Tropicana doesn't do it. That makes
That I know Tropicana's. That is not. That we can't be. Then you can't buy the other company.
you know it.
I know if Tropicana's is Chachma. I know one of the. If I know which one doesn't, then I can't be saying.
You have to be to know. Like, how do you know?
We know. If I know for sure they didn't. Has to be sure this company doesn't do
You
it.
have to be woefully ignorant. You have to be ignorant on purpose not to know, but you have to know enough not to know anything.
No. You have to know one company doesn't do it. That's.
Have a basic level of knowledge, and then you don't want to go too far.
It's not talking. I'm not obligated. I know one company doesn't do it. That's.
So, for example, you have like all the not kosher orange juices, and you know
It's
one
not
of
kosher
these.
oranges, not certified.
No,
Yeah, but I mean, not certified kosher orange juice. You know of these companies, one.
You know for sure doesn't. Then you can buy any orange juice.
One of the manufacturers.
but as soon as you know one company that for sure is certified, you know the name of the company, then you have to.
Yeah, I mean then it's nothing to talk about.
Unless you find out that one company put something in plain or ice, then you can say that.
Yeah, it's only a Dirabanan. We're talking about Dirabanan. Now, the Shulchan says, the Muk says what you just said. What happens if for sure one does and not one does and 9 doesn't? Let's say this company, 10 companies. I do know one of the companies for sure puts in wine and 9 doesn't. So this is the good. Then it's a problem. I can't go buy because called kvur kemechza mechzedum. You know what that means? When there's 9 butcher shops selling kosher, one non-kosher, and you go into one of the butcher shops and you buy, that's called kvur kemechza mechzedum. So we're talking about when we only know it's the derech, and there's one for sure selling good. Then it's the kula. But if I know one for sure selling non-kosher, and I know for sure 9 are selling kosher, I have no idea which one it is, then we go into the problem called kvur kemechza mechzedum. Then it's not good. Tell you why this is negeya. Let me tell you an interesting story to make it the lamasa. You know, I don't know if you remember the shaitel business that happened 8 years ago. It's 8 years already now. The Indian hair. So what happened was, so there was a big tumult. So the tumult was that they claimed, let me start the whole story. They claimed that in India, that what is the religion there again? Hinduism, that they cut the hair and they make it a sacrifice for Avodah Zarah. A sacrifice is osabanua, and then they change it into sheitlach. Oh, Lubavitch was very proud then. I asked Lubavitcher, so he told me his sister does sheitlach, and his sister Taka imports it from Ukraine, because the Lubavitcher Rebbe said for 35 years ago he didn't like about this Indian hair. But anyway, so there was a big tumult then. And what was the question? Let's say they're right. So there was a big machlokes between Rabbi Belsky and Rabbi Elyashiv. Rabbi Elyashiv says, since they make it, even though we don't buy it from them, we buy it from an Italy manufacturer, he says there's a kvur in the market, so it's called kvur kemechza mechzedum, right? So that's the question. He claimed, I have no idea who I'm buying it from. You're not buying. So let me explain to you what really I found, that this is a machlokes between the Sanzeruf and the Shlomo Klieger. That means like this: if I go into the to the store who sells the hairs, that's kavur. But if I click on the internet and order, I have no idea where I'm coming from. I didn't go in there. I'm getting it sent. This question was asked about sugar also. They used to put chaz into sugar, so there was a machlokes of Shlomo Klieger and Sanzeruf that he held. The guy brings it. I have no idea where he brings it from. So I click on the internet and order it here, and so that was a machlokes. This is called kavur or not kavur. That means the air places they're selling here, and non-kosher here and place in kosher here. The question is called a kavur. No, I spoke to them. They buy. They. There's a lot of in between people making money. They bought it from the middleman, and the middleman. The middleman,
It was 90 cents in the beginning.
yeah,
It's not gonna cost
the
them
truth is, let me just, it was, yeah, it's a frightening. It cost them bobkas. But the mice, let me just make the record straight. The reason it's not a problem here was because it's not a takrivus of a disorder. It turned out, I spoke to a professor, and then other people, I spoke to a professor, that happens to be about true professor in UC Irvine, who unfortunately before became frum was a Jewish person, and the 70s became a Hindu, and he, what did you say? In Jews. So he became one, and he explained to me that it's not a way disorder, it's a mistake. It's just they go to the church, to their thing, and humiliate yourself. The greatest humiliation for a lady to do is cut her hair off. That's not avoid disorder, except the churches over there decided to make money. He showed me at the same church in Philadelphia, there is this group, a lot of Indians living there from this group, and that, they don't take the haircut in church. You go to the barber a few blocks away from the church, and the barber takes it off. The original guy, he explained to me what happened. And when the English came to India, they didn't know how to call this, and they called it a sacrifice. But